G'day folks, this is a short video on a slab hut at this heritage site, and we'll go and take a closer look at it. But first I'll just zoom in. I hope this wind's not interfering with the audio too much. You can see on the roof there, the roofing was made out of wooden shingles. Okay, and the walls, as we saw in the timber mill before, it's just slab walk, very it's a hardwood timber, very robust. This timber is very old, and was rough sawn timber in the old time timber mills. There's a chimney on top, so and the veranda, and this is pretty much fairly typical of the much poorer homesteading type people living in the area. I have seen some where they didn't actually use timber. Some of the huts were made out of the bark from an iron bark tree, just strung a wire together, whatever the case was. So we'll go inside and have a quick look. It gives you some idea of I was just talking to one of the curators before that this building was found somewhere else, and it's been moved and rebuilt on the site, as so many of the other buildings have too. They've done a really good job of it. So we'll go inside and have a quick look. Okay folks, we're inside the slab hut, and I'll just do a quick tour inside. Here's the curators locking up. I didn't realise what time it was. So these are some of the items that were stored and used, not necessarily in the same time period, but this gives you an idea of some of the gear that was used. Some of it is older than others. I don't know how many of us remember the old cast iron cooking pots and that sort of thing. That's a big one there. A lot of this stuff is antique. You'll never be able to walk into one of the more modern stores and just buy it off the shelf. Some of these are quite modern. That looks like aluminium, but you get the gist of what I'm saying. And just to give you an idea of the inside, that's the slab walls. Now, in this area in the winter months, we get very cold winds, wind chill, so you can imagine how cold it used to get inside these buildings with these gaps in the walls up there. And the roof on this is quite well sealed actually, with those wooden shingles. But by the same token, we get very hot summers here, so you can appreciate that any breeze coming through these gaps in the walls would help cool the place down. So we're just having a quick look around. There's a lot of stuff in here. I could spend 2 days here videoing. It's an old type bed. It's actually suspended on wire. So probably a good idea in those days to keep off the ground from spiders, snakes and everything else, but that sort of thing. Now, this is what I was looking for. To make the wood shingles on the roof, I used to use one of these. It was also used for making wooden palings for fences, and I have actually used some of that wood to make put a handle on a knife I made on a charcoal forge. But I'm only one-handed at the moment, but yeah, that's pretty much called a paling throw. And what I can gather, I was here a couple of years ago, they would use this with it, hold it in one hand with a block of wood, and just gently tap or give it a good whack depending on how tough the wood was. Yeah, it's a mallet. That's the info on it there. It was used to cut shingles, as you can see there. So, yeah, you don't see these around anymore. Old leatherwork saddlebags. Something like that. Oh yes, here we go. The old Coolgardie fridge or safe. Actually an Australian invention from research I've done on it back in the 1800s. It was made by a guy out in the, Coolgardie, which is out in Western Australia. It was a gold mining town. And basically, it works with it. It's sort of like an evaporative cooler. You put the water in the top there. Now this isn't a home, this is a manufactured one for its day. Then you put hessian around the sides like that, all around it. If you can see there, it's a very fine mesh sheet of metal all around it, including the doors. I'll have a quick look inside. That's what it looked like. And there were different designs. They've got a water tray down here too. The idea being is that the hessian or calico or whatever they were using in the day would, through wicking action, would soak up the water. And you put it out on the veranda or inside a house like this with a bit of a breeze, and it actually chilled down the inside of the safe where they could keep perishable foods or semi-perishable foods, things like butter and stuff like that. I've even heard it claimed that in some areas, under the right conditions, they could even set jelly in it. I've never seen it happen, but anyway. But that's one design. There are many designs. One I've seen quite a few years back was double wall filled with charcoal and stood about 6 foot tall, weighed 20 tonne, metaphorically speaking. So that was the earliest type of chillers. Very simple in design and concept. There's a whole heap of stuff in here. So anyway folks, that just about does it for this. That'll give you some idea of homesteading, what they did in the old days. It was a hard life then. Flooring in this, it's all rough sawn timber. You can see the gaps in the flooring. So get a wind chill through this area in winter, which we often do. And you can get quite cold in here. Round in there, I'd say that's where they would have had the chimneys just up here. So they would have had some sort of fireplace or perhaps an old stove or something in here. They've actually used set stone down here, so it helps with the heat. It's modern concrete, but they would have packed it down with something in those days. So anyway folks, our wooden barrels, great stuff. Alrighty, we'll call it quits here. Oh, before I go, this is what they call a hanging safe. Now in Australia, and I've had it happen to me out in the bush at campsites. Any food items, you keep it in there because lots of little critters like to come in, particularly possums and bush rats and that sort of stuff, and eat whatever you're storing. It might be biscuits or a bit of damper or whatever the case is. And what they used to do with these things, that one's made out of wire mesh, and they're quite easy to make. Just put your foodstuffs in there with a door lock on it, make it strong enough so that the most determined little critter doesn't want to tear it apart. And they'd hang it up in a tree, or in this case they've hung it up in a rafter. It all helps, keeps rodents out and good old Australian possum, which will get into anything and eat it, you know, that sort of stuff. So that's what we call a food safe, or I sometimes call a hanging safe. So that gives you some idea. Right folks, thanks for watching.